Hello everyone, my name is John Bussart. I'm an HPE Business Transformation Center engineer for Ingram Micro. I help support servers, blade systems, storage, as well as networking technology solutions from HPE. In my videos, what I like to do is show you a slide from a popular PowerPoint and then demonstrate to you what that means within a management interface. Today we're going to be looking at HPE's Cloud Volumes. So Cloud Volumes is an interesting solution. It is really HPE's storage solution within the cloud. Now you have the ability to take this storage and connect it across a wide variety of cloud providers that are out there, or even start off with a solution that's in the cloud and then bring it back on-prem if needed. Right? This storage solution can act as a block storage solution, and that's what we'll be looking at today. So it can look at a block storage solution for your cloud providers, and today we're going to be looking at AWS, but it certainly has other storage technologies that you can utilize. It can certainly be a replication partner for a nimble array. It can also be a catalyst store for your backup solution as well. But again, like I said, today we're going to be looking at AWS and its connection to HPE's Cloud Volumes. And that's really done through AWS's Direct Connect, right? And through that tunnel back to the HPE Cloud Data Center, we'll be making an iSCSI connection and connect that directly up to our EC2 incident. So certainly our EC2 incident connects to the VPC, which is a building block for cloud networks, right? But after that, we're going to add a volume, above and beyond the boot volume that connects again through iSCSI back to the data center. So that allows us to be able to make our data portable between different cloud solutions that are out there, or if we wanted to replicate that back on site to a local nimble array. So this is a very flexible solution with your cloud strategies that are out there. I think it takes away a lot of the fear that people have with utilizing the cloud. Now this video is probably going to be a little bit longer because I'm going to show you a couple different processes for connecting this up. I'm going to show you more of a manual way for doing this, right? And that's just for troubleshooting and understanding how everything works on the back end. And then at the end of this video, I'm going to show you how to do an automated process. So this should be the complete solution for connecting cloud volumes up to your AWS account. And let's take a look at these management interfaces. Okay, we're up on HPE's Cloud Volumes up here, and we're actually underneath the block volumes category here. We can see that here. And I have one volume created, right, and it's connected to AWS. Right, so I certainly do have an AWS account associated with this. So as I kind of go through this process and show you this, I'm kind of going to do a manual setup of this. There's certainly some automation you could set up as this solution is configured, but I thought it was helpful for you guys to be able to see the underpinnings of how this gets set up so you understand that from a troubleshooting perspective or even just an overall solution perspective of this technology. Now, if you want to automate some of this, you can look over here under the user settings and select help docs. All right, and if you look under configuring HPE Cloud Volumes, you'll see automating the cloud account. Right, and they'll talk about some IAM roles that you'll want to set up in order to be able to accomplish some of the automation. So again, I have this one cloud volume connected to this AWS account that I have. So I have under here cloud accounts. I have my AWS account listed here. Now, if you wanted to add an AWS account or a variety of other cloud-based accounts, right, you're going to need things like the account name, your account ID, and the role ARN would be needed if you wanted to do some automation inside this environment. Okay. So let's go back to block volumes. I have this one block volume here. Now it's created and connected to this VPC. So if you don't know what a VPC is, basically it is, I would say, the foundational networking a component found within a cloud environment. I would say it's almost a layer one entity, if you will. Basically, your instances or your cloud-based virtual machines will connect to this VPC, and if you've got multiple machines connected to the same VPC, they can communicate with each other. Separate VPCs, unless you do something special, they will not communicate with each other inside a cloud environment. So it's definitely a network segmentation type of thought process around this. So I have this VPC created here, and ultimately what we're going to do is connect the volume up to this VM or this incident in AWS, and it's using that VPC right now. Right, that VM is represented by this remote desktop session that I have over here. Right, now this volume, again, we're looking at HPE Cloud Volumes again. Now this volume has a couple connections back to AWS, and I could see those down here. Right, so it has a couple paths back to AWS. So this is representative of my cloud volumes to AWS. So what does this look like inside AWS itself? So we'll go back over to AWS. I'm going to go on to services, and if it didn't pop up over here under recently visited, you can search Direct Connect over here. All right, but I'm just going to select it here, and if I look under virtual interfaces, we will see that this is the virtual interfaces that's connected from AWS to Cloud Volumes. So that's the relationship on either side. Now you will need one of these connections per VPC, or again, that foundational building block of your cloud network environment. All right, so I'm going to go through the process of creating another one of these circuits, just so you can see, how this goes through, or how this kind of clicks through. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over to our services in AWS, and I'm going to go down to VPC. All right, and I'm going to go to your VPCs, and this is the VPC that's already associated with that incident or that VM that I showed you a little bit earlier. But we're going to create a new one. And we'll call it HPE BTC, and I'm going to put a delete so I know to remove this later on. And we're going to call it my VPC. All right, we got to put a CIDR block. It's just basically the subnet mask. I'll put something silly in here. And then we'll create. All right, so we have this VPC created. Now, other steps that I need to go through is I'm going to need to set up a virtual private gateway to that. So I'm going to go down to virtual private gateways. You can see I already have one for that main incident that we were looking at earlier, or that main VPC I was showing you earlier. So we're going to go create a new one. Again, we're going to give it a similar name. And then I'm going to click Create. All right. Now I'm going to need to associate this virtual private gateway with the VPC. So I'm going to select it here. You can see there's that virtual private gateway. I'm going to go under Actions and attach to a VPC. And there's that new VPC that I've created. We'll select that and we'll click Yes, Attach. And we can see over here it's attaching right now. So we're going to have to wait for that to attach. Usually it doesn't take too long, but once it attaches, we'll be able to use it. Okay, we can see this is attached. Once it's attached, I have to make sure the routing is set up correctly. So I'm going to go up to Route Tables. And we'll see that this new VPC has a route table associated with it. So I'm just going to edit the name just so we can look at it, or we can identify it quickly. All right, but in that, we can see we've already selected it, so that changes what we see below. But what we want to do here is we want to go to route propagation, and we can see that that virtual private gateway is not propagated. So we want to change that, so we want to edit route propagation. We're going to put that check mark in the box, and we're going to click Save. And we can see that it is propagated. And at this time, this VPC, we can create a circuit to this from the Nimble Cloud Volume. So let's go about and let's do that. So I'm going to go over to HPE Cloud Volumes again. We're going to go back up to Cloud Block Volumes, and I'm actually going to create a volume to kind of stand up this connection. Now this connection will get stood up automatically as I create a volume to the VPC, and then once the last volume is deleted using that VPC, it will tear down that connection. All right, so let's go through that process. Let's add a new volume. You see we're selecting that cloud account. We're going to use that region. Now I've got cloud network as manual, but again, if I did some of that automation, I could take this drop down box and we'd see all my VPCs that were listed, and then I could automatically select that and the stuff below would get populated. But we're going to go through and we're going to manually put that in. So let's go over to our VPCs. There's the VPC we're using right now. So we'll copy that in. We're going to remember our CIDR, excuse me. We're going to paste that in and then put the subnet mask in there. We're going to click next. We're going to give it the volume a name. And again, I'm going to go with the same theme. I don't need to keep this around. I don't know. I'm pretty cheap, so we're going to do just a little bit. I'm just trying to show you something. And then we'll select the cloud application. Right, that's just for reporting. And then volume type. Right, we'll use the lower cost all-purpose flash. We're going to click next, and next we could choose a snapshot schedule. So we got a variety of options here. All right, maybe we'll do twice daily. We'll keep 4 of them around. You could certainly keep more if we wanted to. We'll click next again, and we're going to get a summary, and I'm going to click confirm. Now this is going to take a little bit in order for it to stand this up, but this is a one-time process. You know, once it goes through and stands up that connection to AWS, creating volumes will be a pretty quick process. Obviously, I'm going to fast forward a little bit through this as this kind of clicks through. If you look down here, look at the time, you'll get an understanding of how long it actually takes. But I'll show you some things as we kind of go through this. So we can see now that our status has changed to provisioning. Okay, now we can see it's talking about the status is provisioning the connection. So this is the actual connection going back to AWS. And now we're getting a message that says action is needed. To use this volume, log into your AWS portal and accept the newly created HPE Cloud Volume Direct Connection. So let's take a look at that and what they're talking about. So I'm going to close this out. We can see that our volume is created over here. If I go look under connections right now, you can see we've got a couple new connections created here that are in a confirming state. All right, so I need to go confirm that connection back to AWS. So the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to go up to my AWS account, go back under services, and select direct connect. I'm going to look at virtual interfaces, and we can see a new one has popped up. You can kind of see it's in a confirming state. So let's select this, and then we've got an accept button up here. Now both the state as well as the BGP status will need to be available and up in order for this to be able to work. And this, again, will take a little bit of time. So I'm going to click accept. Right? I'm going to attach it to a virtual private gateway, and I'm going to use that new one that I just created, and accept. And again, it's going to take a little time. We'll see this state change from pending to available, and then a little bit longer we'll have to wait, and the PGP status will be up. Okay, now we could see that this virtual interface is available, but again, the BGP status is still down, so we still have to wait for that to come up. We can look inside cloud volumes real quick, and maybe we'll refresh that a little bit. And we see now the link is set to down, but it'll come up in a little bit. So we'll go back over here, and we'll sit and wait patiently. Okay, our BGP status has finally come up, and we can also see our state is completely available. If I go into HPE Cloud Volumes, and this probably just needs to be refreshed, so let's go back to Cloud Accounts and go to Connections. We can see that now it's available. So right now, if I was to create new incidences, new EC2 incidents or VMs using this VPC, right, I could take and mount this volume to that incident or that EC2 incident. Right, so that kind of shows you how this works through. That circuit, you know, that takes a little time to kind of create. New volumes that you'll create will not take as long. So for example, we'll create another volume here. Right, we'll use the same VPC. All right, I'll click next, and we'll give it a few gigs. All right, do a file server again. We'll do general purpose flash. All right, we'll give it a name. We'll click next, and again, we'll just leave the snapshot schedule, and then we'll confirm, and you'll see that this will happen pretty quickly within this environment. You can see it's successfully been created. Now that's created. So it was just the process of creating the first circuit that really took a while. After that, everything will be fine. You'll need a circuit per VPC that you plan to use your environment, right? It's a one-time process, as long as the circuit's up. Again, if you delete the last volume, right, so we have these two delete volumes. If I delete them, then if I go look under connections, over time, this extra circuit will go away. Now, another thing to keep in mind, if I delete a volume, so I'll go over here, and we'll select Actions, and we'll click Delete the volume, and we'll confirm that. So that volume's gone within this interface, but as an added layer of protection, I go over here and I show deleted volumes. It'll still represent. As long as this is still here, right, that will still, in effect, be available. But over time, this will delete, and then once this goes away as well, the circuit will go away. All right, so let me clean up this environment, and we'll come back, and I'll show you how to actually mount one of these volumes to your virtual machine or your EC2 incident. Okay, now that we've seen how the circuit creation is handled between HPE's cloud volumes and AWS, let's actually go through the process of creating a volume and actually attaching it to an EC2 incident or our VM. So the one we're going to be using today is going to be this guy here, and that is represented by this remote desktop connection. As you can see, I just have a C drive right now. All right, so let's go back into block volumes. Let's create a new block volume. All right, there's our region. Again, our cloud network, we can have that automatically populated. Highly suggest that. Otherwise, you're going to have to pull out the VPC and the CIDR. So our VPC is over here. And we'll paste that down. And I happen to know the subnet on this guy is this. We'll click next. So we'll do AWS demo. We'll give it a few gigs. And we'll do file server again. And then we'll use the general purpose flash. We'll click next again. What type of snapshots that we want to do? I don't know. We'll do hourly. Maybe we'll hang on to 24 of them. We'll click next. And then we'll click confirm. Again, because the circuit is created, this volume will be created very quickly as it has done. All right, so what I'm going to want to do is go into this AWS demo, and now I want to attach it to a virtual machine. So again, if I set up the automation, if I go add a cloud VM, those will populate under here, and I've just got the manual entry. So basically what I need is the private IP address of this system. So there it is. So that's the IP address within the virtual, within the VPC. We'll just paste that down. And we could have auto-connected, and I'll show you how that goes in a little bit. So we'll click Attach. And at this process, it can be connected to that EC2 incident or that VM that we were looking at. Now, there are different procedures if we're looking at Windows or Linux, right? But what you're going to want to do, if this is Windows or even Linux, you're going to download this CVCTL program. And if you just click on that, it'll come down. I've already downloaded that, and I've placed it inside this virtual machine. I've unzipped it and placed it inside this virtual machine or the EC2 incident. If we dig in, we'll see it here. And I actually have a path statement to this inside my system as well, so it'll automatically find this. All right, but we don't necessarily need that program. Certainly we could run these commands, but you can actually read into these a little bit and gain a little bit of understanding. So for example, here's a discovery IP address. So I'm going to grab that real quick. Because at this point we're really dealing with iSCSI, so I can do the Microsoft iSCSI initiator, right, I can go over to Discovery, Discover portal. We'll drop in this IP address. We'll click OK. So this is like normal iSCSI. We could see the path that's right over here, and we can select it. We can click Connect. Now, I don't want this guy every time it reboots to connect because I'm just trying to show you something. We'll enable multi-path. I'm going to click Advanced, and what we're going to do is we're going to enable CHAP on this. So again, if I read inside this, we will see the CHAP user is right here. So I'll copy that, and we'll paste that as the user. And then we can see the CHAP secret. It's right here. I'll copy that. Again, I'll paste that down over here. And then we'll click OK. And OK again. And then we'll see we're connected. And then inside, if I go inside disk management, at this point we'll see our 10 gig volume. So you could root that out if you wanted to. I certainly don't recommend it. Again, I just want you to have an understanding of some of the underpinnings that are happening here. So let's remove this. Right, everything's gone. And now let's use the utility. Now, as a part of the automatic attach process, the automation, it will use this utility to deploy this. So if I go over here and we'll do CMD, and keep in mind I have that as a part of my path statement, but we'll run this. This will configure the host. It'll do a little bit. If it's the first time you've done it, it will want to do a reboot, but it shouldn't need to. You should have to only really do that once. But it doesn't hurt to do it a second time. And then we'll actually have to run this command to actually connect the volume. So we'll copy that. We'll bring that over, and I'll hit enter. And we'll see it's come back. And at this point, once again, we can go back over to iSCSI initiator. And we can see it's created that connection for us and populated the discovery. And again, we can look inside disk management, and we can see that our volume exists. Okay, I certainly showed you the manual process for creating volumes within HPE Cloud Volumes and presenting them to AWS. You really want to set up an automated approach to creating these volumes. It makes the ease of use of the solution very good. As a reminder of what did we need to do through the manual process to create a volume, what we needed to do was go over here to New Volume. Right, and because we had manual entry under cloud networks, we had to go inside AWS and we had to go find our VPC and our CIDR. Right, and then once we created that volume, if it was a new VPC, right, that we were connecting to, we had to look under connections, and we had to wait for the connections to become available. But that included in the manual process of going over into AWS, going down to Direct Connect, right, and then virtual interfaces, and finding the virtual interface and accepting that connection, right, and waiting for it to become available, right. So it was a manual process where we had to accept that connection. And then after that was done, right, we had to go grab our volume, and what we do is go down to Add Cloud VM, right, and then because we had to take manual here, we had to go dig out our Cloud VM private IP address, plug that in. Right, and then once that was done, right, we had to actually go inside the Cloud VM, right, and either use the command line utility or the iSCSI initiator to actually connect that volume to this incident. Right, so we're going to automate that process. Certainly, you're going to want to do it. And if you remember earlier, I showed you the documentation for that over here under Help Docs, and that was listed under here: automating cloud account information retrieval. And basically what we're going to do is create an IAM role inside this environment. We're just going to follow these instructions. So what we'll do is I'm going to go over to AWS. I'm going to go under Services. And I have IAM over here, but you'll find that listed under Security, Identity, and Compliance. You could obviously search that out as well if you wanted to. So we're going to select that. And what we're going to do is create a new role. And then because we're setting up a trust relationship between HPE's Cloud Volumes and AWS, we're going to select another AWS account over here, and we're going to plug in an account ID. Now, where did I get that number from? Well, if you look inside the documentation, it tells me that this is HPE's Nimble account owner ID. Right, so that's what you need to plug in. You also want to require external ID, right, and put that in. So where did I get that number? So within HPE's cloud volumes, you go down to cloud accounts, and you'll see this AWS external ID. So I have mine whited out to protect the innocent, but it's a big long number that you're going to want to copy and paste inside your environment, inside your IAM role. Next, we're going to go into permissions. Now, the permissions that we need to set are all listed down here. So let's grab the first one. First, we're going to need to give it full access to the VPC. That's the basic building block for cloud networks. We'll put the check mark in the box. Next, we need to give it read-only access to EC2. So that's where we create our instances, our cloud VMs. And then AWS Direct Connect, we need full access for that. So that was the portion where we created the link between HPE's cloud volumes and AWS. And then finally, we need the agent for the incident. So we'll paste that down as well, put the check mark in the box. Then we'll click Next Tags. Certainly, you can put any tags in there if you wanted to. And then we'll click Next Review. And you can see the policies that we assign to this, and we'll give it some name. All right, and then we'll click Create Role. All right, now once this role has been created, I want to kind of search it on out, and I want to look at it. And what I want to grab is the role ARN. Again, I've got this whited out to protect the innocent. All right, it's a big, long string. So we're going to grab that, and we're going to go under HPE Cloud Volumes down to Cloud Accounts. Right, that's where we're at. And I'm going to edit this cloud account. And we left role ARN blank before, right? Said it was optional, but if we want to do the automation, we need to copy that in. We'll click Next, and then click Save. After we've done that, what's the user's experience for attaching a volume to an AWS incident? And again, we're going to attach it to this incident over here. So we're going to go over to Block Volumes. We're going to click New Volume. Right, now the cloud networks populate. Right, and I want to grab this one because I know that's my subnet. I'm going to click Next. I'm going to give it a volume name. Again, I'm just trying to show you something, so I'm just going to give you something basic. I'm going to give it a size. Why don't we give it a little bit of an unusual size so we can identify it. And then, again, the cloud application for reporting and what type of flash we feel like using. We'll click Next. We'll leave the snapshots the way they are. We got a summary page, and then we'll click Confirm. All right, so our volume was created. Right, we could see that down here. Now, if I select the volume, I can go down to Add Cloud VM. Right, and then if I take the drop-down box, we can see our incident for our cloud volume. For our AWS VM. And again, that's this guy over here. And then we'll auto-connect the volume to the cloud VM, and then we'll click Attach. Now this will take a little bit of time, but it will attach. Okay, so now it's been attached in our environment, so we can close this. Now let's go take a look inside our incident. And if I right-click and go to Disk Management, we can see that our new volume is connected. So that was really a seamless process for adding. So I'd highly recommend adding the IAM role into this to make it easier for users to be able to experience this solution. The only other thing I would like to add as a part of this is that if you're creating a connection to a new VPC, so a new connection under here, right, that will take some time to establish. Now, it will automate the process for accepting, right, the virtual interface that we had to manually do over here. But this circuit we're connecting between these two data centers does take a little bit of time to be able to connect. So really, you have to come in here and you have to see that this is available, or even better yet, you have to see it's available within HPE's cloud volumes in order to be able to connect your volume to your AWS incident. I hope you guys found this video informative, and please stay tuned for more videos.